The evening of June 2009, over Rio de Janeiro offered no hints of trouble. The weather was clear, the winds were calm, and the city below was quiet. At Galeon International Airport, Air France Flight 447 was prepping for a standard overnight route across the Atlantic to Paris. On board were 216 passengers from 33 different countries, settling in for an 11-hour journey, alongside 12 crew members going through their standard pre-flight checklists. Their aircraft was an Airbus A330. It was a modern, highly automated jet with a clean safety record. For the first few hours, it climbed smoothly over the dark expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. Every system from the engine thrust to the cabin pressure was operating exactly as programmed. The first 3 hours were a study in precision, providing no warning of the sequence that was about to unfold. Around 3.5 hours after takeoff, the aircraft's route brought it toward the Intertropical Convergence Zone. This is a near-continuous band of weather near the equator, known for spawning massive, towering thunderstorms and violent turbulence. At 1:35 a.m., the flight crew made routine contact with air traffic control. Their voices were relaxed. They reported their position and altitude, noting nothing out of the ordinary as they approached the severe weather ahead. Flight 447 pressed forward, enveloped by turbulent, electrically charged clouds and the pitch-black darkness of the open ocean. Minutes later, the Airbus vanished from radar screens. There was no mayday call, no distress signal, just a sudden, total silence from the mid-Atlantic. A highly advanced commercial jetliner, tracked by satellites and advanced air traffic control networks, had completely ceased to exist on the grid. The effort to locate the wreckage would push deep-sea recovery technology to its limit. By dawn, a massive multinational operation mobilized. Aircraft and naval vessels from France, Brazil, and the United States began scanning thousands of square miles of ocean. It took 5 days of searching before ships finally spotted the first signs of wreckage, a vertical stabilizer, and life rafts drifting on the surface. While the debris confirmed the location of the impact, these physical remains couldn't explain the logic of the descent. To understand why the plane fell, they needed the data. For nearly 2 years, investigators scoured the abyssal plain. Millions of dollars were spent deploying deep-sea submersibles in a desperate attempt to find the main fuselage resting miles below the surface. Then, in May 2011, remote vehicles finally located the flight data and cockpit voice recorders. Against all odds, the memory modules were intact. The investigation shifted immediately from dragging the ocean floor to decoding terabytes of digital forensics. Investigators could finally step back into the cockpit. The recovered audio revealed what the pilots experienced in those final minutes. The instruments were glowing normally as they navigated the dark storm. High in the thunderclouds, supercooled moisture began striking the aircraft. Microscopic ice crystals rapidly accumulated on the exterior. This accumulation impacted the pitot tubes, sensors that act as the aircraft's speedometer. Ice crystals physically blocked the front of these tubes, cutting off the flow of air. Without that data, the computers could no longer determine how fast the plane was flying. Sensing the contradictory data, the Airbus's automated systems disengaged. An alarm sounded, the autopilot shut off, and manual control was handed back to the pilots in the middle of a pitch-black storm. Startled and experiencing severe spatial disorientation without a visible horizon, the pilot flying made a fatal control input. He pulled back on the side stick, forcing the heavy aircraft's nose sharply upward. This animated diagram illustrates an aerodynamic stall. As the nose pitches up too steeply, smooth airflow detaches from the wing, destroying the lift required to keep the plane airborne. Locked in this nose-up attitude, the aircraft began a rapid vertical plunge toward the ocean. The disaster was the result of a lethal breakdown in the human-machine interface. The pilot's manual inputs fought the aircraft's physical state until it was too late to recover. The deepest tragedy found in the final report was that despite the iced sensors, the aircraft remained flyable. Had the pilots simply kept the nose level, the plane would have remained in the air until the ice melted. As a direct result, aviation authorities worldwide mandated the immediate replacement of these specific pitot tubes with newer models far more resistant to high-altitude icing. Airlines globally overhauled their training programs. Instructors placed a renewed emphasis on manual, high-altitude handling and stall recovery, ensuring pilots maintain their proficiency even when automation fails. Manufacturers also redesigned flight deck interfaces to ensure that when sensors do fail, the warnings presented to the crew are clear, prioritized, and less likely to cause confusion. Today, thousands of aircraft navigate the very same equatorial storms without incident. Flight 447 stands as a grim catalyst for change, forcing the industry toward more resilient sensors and a sharper focus on manual flight proficiency. What would you have done in that cockpit? What do you think really happened? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like the video and subscribe for more in-depth aviation stories and historical investigations.